So now going to the ruling, what the ruling says. So the Supreme Court has directed GSTN to open the portal for both filing as well as revising. So it can be filed, it can be revised also, both Tran 1 and Tran 2. And the period in which it has to be opened is September to October 2022. So this is an important timeline which all of you should keep in mind if you had any missed credits. Very importantly, the Supreme Court has gone overboard. They have given relief to everyone, whether someone has filed a writ petition or not, whether someone's issue was taken up by IT grievance redressal committee or not. So everyone is eligible. GSTN to ensure that there are no technical glitches during this period. A very important and which is a condition to be washed out, which they have introduced, is that the government needs to verify the claim within 90 days. So once you file the claim within 90 days, they need to verify whether your claim is ordered or not, and then pass an order on merits after granting reasonable opportunity. So very important to note that pre-GST, in the initial stage of GST when Tran 1 was to be filed, there was no verification, formal verification, or formal verification report oblique order was required, which has been introduced now. Post verification, the credit will be reflected in ECL. And the GST Council can consider issuing appropriate guidelines to field formations for scrutinizing such claims. So coming to the open issues because of this ruling, the first point which we mentioned, that we need to see how this verification will be done, how stringent it will be, what will be the scope, will they verify even the credits which got successfully transitioned earlier, or they will verify the incremental claims only. Very important question is that many of the taxpayers who challenged this issue before the High Court and got the relief, but for whom the portal was not open, what will happen to those cases? So there were many taxpayers to whom the credit was allowed by the High Court because the government did not open the portal, so they took the credit in 3B. So what will happen to those cases? If Tran 1 was not filed earlier, yes, benefit will be available. Benefit will also be available where credit was partly transferred due to technical glitches or credits were missed, or in situations which were otherwise covered under Section 140. So to that extent, it is incumbent on all of you to see were there any credits which were missed, which were eligible to be transitioned. Those can be transitioned now. So there were issues like credits were not fully transferred because the statutory forms under sales tax like C form, F form were not there. So those can be transitioned now. Credit of cesses, they stand on a similar footing. The matters are before Supreme Court. So if any taxpayer is interested in litigation, if they have high stakes of cesses, etc., they can consider taking now also, even if not taken earlier. Yeah, but as far as the taxes which were paid post introduction of GST, like service tax on ocean freight or CVD or SAT paid due to non-fulfillment of export obligations, because those events occurred after introduction of GST, so those will be unaffected by this. Those you cannot claim under Tran 1 because those were not legally due credits on 30th June 2017. So yes, under Section 140, you can file refund claims, and many tribunals are consistently allowing refund in such cases. So now coming to the section of other rulings, I'll hand over the session to Akanksha, who will take it forward.
Thank you, Puneet. So good afternoon, everyone. So we'll be starting with the Supreme Court ruling in the case of Pradeep Goyal. So this ruling was with respect to the recommendations to the states on matter relating to GST. So there has been an issue in the past as well, that whether all the notices and communications given by the authorities, state authorities or the center, whether there should be a disclosure of DIN, is it mandatory or not? So regarding that, there was a circular which was issued in the past in 2019, which clearly clarified that it is mandatory to be issued in, it has to be specified in all the communications. However, still there were misses in the notices, etc., issued by the state authorities. So considering that, this ruling is a relief, which says that GST Council is empowered to make recommendations to states on any matter which is relating to GST, and accordingly, they directed the GST Council to issue the advisory to respective states for implementation of a system for generation of DIN. So in light of this, there has been a recent circular in the state of Andhra Pradesh as well, which states that it is a mandatory provision of stating DIN in all the future communications with effect from 1st of August. So it's an important thing. And in case there is any notice which has been issued without a DIN, it is better to reply to the authorities that it is missing, and they do correct it and issue the fresh notice. Moving on to the High Court rulings. So in the case of Louis Dreyfus Company India Private Limited, the issue was pertaining to the refund of GST paid on ocean freight charges. So the High Court relied on the Supreme Court ruling of Mohit Minerals that we discussed in the beginning of our session today. And they held that refund should be granted within 6 weeks along with applicable interest. So interestingly, they relied on a judgment of ADI Enterprises, which stated that the interest shall be computed within 4 weeks, starting from the date on which all the documents will be submitted with the authorities. Then in the case of DTG Bidar, the issue was relating to GST exemption on annuity paid for construction of roads. So there has been a circular in the past relating to the taxability of annuity of construction of roads, which clearly states that it is not exempt and it will be taxable, as this is different from the free access of roads, bridges, etc., which is specifically exempted under the exemption notification. So the High Court held that annuity paid to the concessionaries or the toll collectors should be treated at par with the toll charges and hence should be exempt. And they quashed the circular 150/2021 in this light. Moving on to the advanced rulings. So there was a AAR ruling in the case of Golden Toby Private Limited, wherein the issue was related to extra packs of cigarettes which were being supplied in addition to the main supply of cigarettes without GST. So the AAR, they relied on the circular of 92/2019 and held that the circular, it doesn't bar any particular commodity per se, and hence under the offer of buy one get one, this particular scenario shall be covered. Considering this, the AAR held that extra packs of cigarettes are neither exempt supplies nor free samples, and hence no ITC reversal shall be required in this case. In the case of Medha servo drives, the issue was related to the order which was received by the appellant for designing, development, manufacture, supply, testing, and commissioning of propulsion system. So the question in this case was whether it shall qualify as a mixed supply or not. So the authorities held that the price breakup is not necessarily means that the items which are being supplied separately. So design, development, and all these services which are being provided for the present case are not naturally bundled. They are two separate transactions under a single price, and hence they will qualify as a mixed supply. In our view, this judgment is totally incorrect because these are in natural parlance. If we see, generally they are all naturally bundled and hence should qualify as a composite supply. Moving on to the AARs, in the case of Daulat Ram Engineering Services, the question was regarding the classification of roof-mounted AC package unit. So the issue was whether it shall qualify under 8607 or not. So AAR held that it is specifically meant for use in the Indian Railways coaches, which is an integral part of the railways. And hence, basis this, the AR observed that these units are supplied to Indian Railways and solely used in the railway coaches only. And in basis that, they discussed note 2 to chapter 86, which specifically includes the word coach work. Considering that, they held that roof mounted AC shall be classified under heading 8607. Relating to the Toplink Motor Car Private Limited. So in this case, the issue was pertaining to the vehicles which were purchased and used as demo cars by the applicant. So the authorities held that ITC restriction with respect to demo cars under section 17(5)(a) shall not be applicable, just because the GST law does not prescribe any time limit for making any further supply. So if we read the wordings of section 17(5)(a), it doesn't say in what time the motor vehicles should be used and supplied further. So considering that, they held that ITC shall be available on the demo cars. In our view, this is a correct ruling.
That's all from our side. And thanks for joining our session in large number. Yeah, thank you very much.